Hi trainers, I have some really cool information for you today. It has finally been revealed what the current strongest Pokemon are in the meta at Master Rank, and this information can help you know what strongest Pokemon to use to climb in rank, what Pokemon are at the moment the weakest, what Pokemon is secretly the strongest or weakest, or just where your favorite Pokemon sit in the current meta. We now have information on the popularity pick of a Pokemon and their win percentage, and today I'll be going through what this means for this specific Pokemon, and we can get an idea on how Pokemon Unite decides on their balance changes. This information literally was impossible to get before a new website came in, and it is called Unite API, which is a website database for Pokemon Unite. You can find win percentages, player search, and a whole lot of other information. They have collabed with UniteDB, which is a website I use quite a bit to get more information about Pokemon Unite stats and items. They have analyzed data from 110,000 Master Rank games in Pokemon Unite to find out the win and popularity percentages of each Pokemon, and from that, they have created their own tier list as well. Disclaimer, I will be going through their tier list too, so this tier list is based on statistics, which is super interesting on its own and tells us different things than a tier list based on opinion and experience. So I really recommend checking it out where your Pokemon sit statistically. Personally for me, I like to do numbers and stuff on my channel because I like to have information that's also backed up by numbers, statistics, and things like that. So I saw this and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun to look at. Numbers are a pretty important part to me, and while I don't think numbers are everything, I don't think that it means that it's this, and that, because there are other things that play, but they do help us paint a better picture of trying to understand something. So that's where I sit with numbers. So yeah, I'm Teeds. I played MOBAs for over 9 years, and my goal is to help you become the very best like no one ever was. Okay, let's jump into it. I will also be going through each Pokemon and their percentages while trying my best to explain what that means with certain Pokemon to the best of my knowledge. I haven't done this before. This is kind of new to me, but I did a lot of research to help myself understand it better, to help you trainers understand what this means as well. A few things to note with this, which is really important to understand. Just to show you, let's use this Pokemon as an example so you know what I'm going to be talking about or what we're looking at. You can see that we have Cinderace here, and rounded up, it has a 49% win rate with a 45% popularity pick. There's a few pointers I have to have you understand before we go through this. I have no idea the specifics of these games. Some could be solo queues, some could be in parties. Articuno exists, so this can make a difference in percentages since there really isn't any other MOBA where the game can be based on a coin flip. This means that you could be doing well through the whole game, but lose one team fight at Articuno and lose. It's happened to me quite a lot. Low win rate does not automatically mean this Pokemon is bad. Higher win rate does not mean this Pokemon is automatically overpowered or broken. I would say it's good to have around a 50% win rate for a Pokemon. Anything around 52% and above could mean this Pokemon is overpowered. There are some more examples for specific Pokemon that I will go through in the video, but to keep this intro as short as possible, let's just get into it and I'll explain it on the way. The tier list maker I'm using today is from Unite Pro, which is another great website for Pokemon Unite information. I will have all these website links below. Please support these websites. They do so much for the community, and it really helps a lot of the content creators on YouTube, Twitch, etc. here as well. The first Pokemon we have is Absol. So Absol has a 47.79% win rate and a popularity of 28%. And with those percentages, they have decided that Absol is in D tier. So pretty low on the tier list. It shows that Absol has like not a 50% win rate. So it actually seems that the players who do use Absol in these games like lost more than they won, which is why they put it in D tier. And personally for me, how I see it is that Absol just struggles so much in the late game. You know, there are some really good Absols. Like these percentages obviously is just more of a general, you know, from the percentages. It doesn't mean that you're like not doing well with Absol. There are players who are doing really well with Absol, but from these 110,000 Master Rank games, Absol just doesn't seem to be winning more than it is losing, and that's why they placed it in D tier. And I can see it because it just has a really good early game but not a crazy late game, and late game to me I personally feel like is the most important. So yeah. Next we have Blastoise. We have a 51.44% win rate with Blastoise and a popularity of 19.69%, and that has placed Blastoise in B tier. So to me, the popularity is actually pretty low in comparison to some other Pokemon I've looked at on this meta page, but we see that Blastoise is winning quite a lot. And 19% to me, the popularity is like a big enough percentage where it's not low enough where it's just the mains that are playing it, but a mixture of like, you know, people who main Blastoise, people who are just playing Blastoise, who want to pick it as a defender, and they're still seeing more wins than losses in this. So I would say that this is a pretty good place for Blastoise. It seems that it's doing pretty well in the meta, like pretty balanced out. It's got a pretty high win percentage, I would say, and almost 52% is pretty high. And yeah, even though it had a bunch of nerfs to it and the damage is a lot lower, like I would say like when it was first released, it was crazy insane, but I think we're in a more balanced spot with Blastoise, and it's a really good spot for it at the moment. Next we have Blissey. Blissey has a win rate of 48.89% or 49% and a popularity of around 7%. So we can see that it's under 50% with the win rate, but the popularity is extremely low. Due to that, they've put Blissey in D tier. What I get from this is that because the popularity is so low, it seems it's more of people who main Blissey that are like playing this Pokemon, and the win rate is not super high. But the issue that I see with Blissey is that, while I find Blissey to be a great Pokemon, like I love using Blissey, it is a Pokemon that is very hard to carry with in solo queue as well. Your support, you don't really do much other than just support your teammates and heal your teammates. But if they're not doing well, then you as the supporter of a Pokemon that can't really carry will be punished for it. So the win rate, we can see that it's not very high. The popularity pick is not very high. So unfortunately with that, it seems that mains who are playing Blissey in ranked, I guess from this you can say that they are struggling to win more than they lose with their games on Blissey, just generally from these percentages. Next we have Charizard. So Charizard has a win rate of 49.7% and a popularity of 14.94%. So with that, they put Charizard in C tier. It's almost 50%, so it's almost in a balanced spot. Popularity wise, it's not a Pokemon that is picked quite often. I would say it's like in a pretty balanced spot win percentage wise. Like 49.7% is not horrible. It's just a little bit under. But yeah, I would say Charizard at the moment, it seems like, you know, 14% is not like, or 15% is not like a huge pool of players playing it. But in this pool, it's either people who main Charizard, some people who just don't main Charizard, and they can still see a bit better results than, you know, like Absol and Blissey, for example. Next we have Cinderace. So Cinderace has a win rate of 48.75% and a popularity of 45.15%, and with that they put it in B tier. I actually put Cinderace in S tier on my tier list because I personally felt like it was a Pokemon that was really easy to carry with. But I guess for me, what I can see with Cinderace is like, you know, we have a huge popularity here. We have a 45% popularity here. So in this pool of people who play Cinderace, they either are more losing than they are winning. I think a problem with Cinderace is that it is a very late game Pokemon. It is a Pokemon that needs to level to reach that power spike. And the problem with Master Rank is that I would say that Master Rank is such a mixed bag as well. I really don't know what these 110,000 games they analyze. I really wish I knew what exactly these games were. But like, you know, sometimes in my Master Rank games, I have a lot of Cinderaces who will just solo Articuno. I'm not saying these are Cinderace mains. So we have like, we're seeing Cinderace mains, we're seeing people who just want to play Cinderace, we're seeing people who play Cinderace because it was high in tier list, or people who just play Cinderace because they enjoy it. So it is a really big popularity pool here. And I would say like, I can see the struggles. It probably may be to do with how much you have to focus on leveling. And if you fall behind on Cinderace, it can be very punishing. Next we have Cramorant, and this one is really interesting to me. So Cramorant has a win rate of 51.22% and a popularity of 10.43%. So with that, they put it in B tier. So Cramorant has a really high win rate. Like, this is pretty high, and the popularity is very low. So what I get from this is that we're probably seeing a lot of people who main Cramorant who are playing this Pokemon. These are people who are probably very experienced in Cramorant, and with that, they're not struggling in the current meta. They're playing Cramorant really well. They're winning more games than they're losing. So we can see that Cramorant is a pretty good pick for Cramorant mains. When the popularity is pretty low, it means that it's just like, you know, there's a lower pool of people playing this. And the lower the pool, I would say, now don't quote me on this because it could be wrong, but from what I understand is that people who are maining this Pokemon are playing this Pokemon most likely, which is why we're seeing like such a low popularity, but the people who are playing this Pokemon have a pretty high win rate. I hope that makes sense. Next we have Crustle. So Crustle has a 49% win rate and a popularity of 27%. So with Crustle, they put that in C tier. So it's doing like, I would say B is like the average, but C is maybe like below average. D is just not viable, which is like the weird thing because I kind of see Blissey as pretty viable to me. I don't know. What do you think, Trainer? Statistically, apparently it's not. This is their tier list. It doesn't mean that we have to go by this tier list, but yeah. So Crustle is in C tier. It has you know, it's not too bad. It's an almost 50% win rate. It's just a 49, just a little bit under. Popularity wise, it is a mixture. Like it's not like extreme high popularity like Cinderace, for example, but you can see that it's still a mixture of people who are like maining this Pokemon, people who play this Pokemon, who are just picking this Pokemon, etc. And it's still doing pretty okay. So C tier is not the best tier though, but it's an okay Pokemon at the moment. Oh, this one's so sad. Decidueye. So Decidueye has a 45.1% win rate with a popularity of 16.9%. With that, they put Decidueye in F tier. So we're just gonna have to make an F tier here. So they did put Decidueye in F tier. I couldn't add an F tier, so we have E tier, just pretend that's F, which means that it's really bad. It's really bad on the current meta. So Decidueye is struggling a lot in the current meta. They have buffed this Pokemon. Maybe Pokemon, I'm pretty sure they have like this whole database where they can see which Pokemon is performing well, which Pokemon isn't. Decidueye is really underperforming here. 45% is really low. Popularity wise, you can see the number is pretty low, so it's around 17%. This means that even people who are maining Decidueye are struggling with this Pokemon in the meta because like 16.9% is a pretty low popularity rate. We're more likely going to see people who are trying to main Decidueye or who mains Decidueye. And I personally feel like, you know, these buffs that they made were nice, but I think the reason is because it's just too squishy. This Pokemon is taken out so easily in the current meta, like Talonflame being in the current meta, etc., Dragonite, Tsareena, etc. Decidueye is just so easy to focus. It relies too much on its allies. It's so hard to solo queue with. This is in my opinion. I personally love its playstyle, but it's really squishy. For example, its health pool, I'm pretty sure, is the same as Cinderace's, and Cinderace does a lot better in the meta. It has mobility, it can survive a lot better. It doesn't rely as much on its teammates. It can take out a whole enemy team on its own, whereas Decidueye, you know, in its Unite move, it's a sitting duck. It has to be positioned really well, and yeah, so Decidueye is currently struggling. I do really agree with that. It is not just really good in the meta at the moment as much as I want it to be, but with that, we can probably expect like buffs for Decidueye, which I'm looking forward to. Next we have Dragonite, and oh my gosh, Dragonite has a win rate of 53%, which is extremely high, and a popularity of 87.83, and that's in S tier. So I put Dragonite in S tier on my last tier list as well. And this Pokemon is just in the meta at the moment is dominating. It is very strong. From these statistics, what I can gather is that with a really high win rate of 53% and a popularity of 87%, we can say that Dragonite at the moment is probably overpowered. And if you don't like that word, you can just say it's just really strong. But I would say that Dragonite at the moment is currently extremely strong. What we can gather from this is that in this 87%, it's a mixture of players who are good with Dragonite, who main Dragonite, but there are also players probably like, you know, don't play Dragonite that often, but are still seeing really good results with Dragonite. So with these percentages, we can say that Dragonite is just, you know, has a great learning curve, it's easier to use, and people are seeing really good results despite not having to be like someone who mains this Pokemon, for example. So yeah, Dragonite S tier, crazy. Maybe we'll see some nerfs in the future, but Dragonite, we can see it has really great, like it has a lot of damage, it has really great objective secure, its Unite move is just so strong. Next we have Eldegoss, which is another really interesting one. So Eldegoss also has a win rate of 53% and a popularity of 31.53. So Eldegoss is sitting in S tier, which I also agree with. I put it in S tier on my tier list as well. And I did make a video recently, which if you want to go check out, I'll be linked down below. Eldegoss got me to Master. It's a Pokemon that I don't really play. I literally did not play it that much. I played Eldegoss, got me to Master in around 12 to 14 wins. I only lost like maybe 2 or 3 games, I don't remember. But I solo queued with Eldegoss, reached Master, and it was insane. What these percentages tell us, from what I gather, is that it has a high win rate, but you can see that the popularity is 31%. So here, compared to Dragonite, Dragonite has a 87% popularity. With Eldegoss, there is still a mixture of players who main Eldegoss. There's still a mixture of players who don't play Eldegoss that much, that me included. I was one of those people. I played Eldegoss and I got a lot of wins on it. I would say this is a Pokemon that is OP at the moment, but it's under the radar. These percentages pretty much show that Eldegoss is like OP, but people don't know that yet as much. Like, people see Eldegoss as like, you know, a supporter. You don't want to solo queue with your supporter. Of course, there are supporters who are solo queuing and they're doing so well at the moment solo queuing as supporter, but with these percentages, I honestly think that Eldegoss is under the radar, where like it's OP, it's a good solo queue Pokemon, but not a lot of people know this yet. So, I mean, like, maybe you do know. I didn't know. I didn't know that Eldegoss was a really good Pokemon to solo queue with, but personally, I solo queued with it and I did pretty well. It's really hard to say based on my own experience because, you know, some people might try it and it might be completely different for them. But from this, we can say that Eldegoss is a pretty OP Pokemon at the moment. Next, we have Garchomp. So Garchomp has a win rate of 48.65%, so around like 49%, and a popularity of 11.46%. So Garchomp is sitting in C tier, not D tier. Yay! So, Garchomp is a Pokemon that has received so many buffs and then a secret nerf to its like moveset where like its crit got taken away or something in some of its movesets. And you know, in a lot of tier lists, including mine, it's been put in D tier lists a lot, and we can see from this that people who are maining Garchomp, while I would say that it's still not the best place, like I still would like to see Garchomp in a better, more viable spot, but has a low popularity with almost 12%, so 11.46%, and the win rate is around 49%. So Garchomp mains, from this, we can see that Garchomp is losing a little bit more than they are winning. Percentages are really low, so it's probably like Garchomp mains and such. And you know, I still find the statistic pretty decent considering how this Pokemon has always been put into D and stuff. You know, you would probably maybe when you think of it, you would think of like Decidueye's statistics with a 45% win rate. But we can see that Garchomp is doing pretty okay, still below average according to the statistic tier list. Next, we have Gardevoir. So Gardevoir has a 49% win rate with a popularity of 30%, and Gardevoir is sitting in C tier. So Gardevoir was a Pokemon that also really struggled in the meta before. It took a really long time to level. It was like struggling because like its power spikes were so like way later, and its evolutions and such, but they buffed it and then they nerfed it. But it's not doing like as bad as I thought it would be, even with its nerf. Apparently, I haven't actually tested Gardevoir after the nerf properly myself. It's still below average. Probably would like to see Gardevoir in a better spot, but once Gardevoir reaches its power spike, it's insane to me. So we can see the win rate is 49%. It's not horrible. Preferably we would like a 50% win rate for a Pokemon to be like more in a balanced spot. So in this pool, Gardevoir has been losing just a bit more than it has been winning. It could be like Cinderace's situation as well, where it can struggle to reach late game, and because it struggles to reach late game, it's not reaching that power spike it needs to push through to the win. Next, we have Gengar. So Gengar has a 48.55% win rate with a popularity of 9.15%. So Gengar has a really low popularity and the win rate is not great. Statistically, this puts Gengar in D tier. So Gengar is a really interesting one for me, and I don't want to come off super biased, okay? I love Gengar, but this is just my general thoughts. I personally feel that Gengar is one of the hardest Pokemon to play. If you're using Sludge Bomb and Hex, which at the moment I personally do not think is viable at a high level because it's just so easy to take out Gengar. Its movesets are down, there's no way for it to escape. I like the Dream Eater and Shadow Ball. I find that moveset to be a bit more viable. You can poke while being safe, the cooldown's really low if you're really good with the reset, but because of all of that, like you have to manage all of that, like the resets, the positioning, I find Gengar to be a really hard Pokemon to play. And in this percentage, we can see that assuming that these are people who are only playing Gengar who main Gengar, the win rate is not very high. So even the people who main Gengar who are playing at a high level are apparently struggling with Gengar. I think Gengar does need buffs. They did buff Gengar a little bit. They gave it some more healing and stuff, which I think was not a really great buff, its passive is also pretty useless. So I would like to see Gengar have buffs and be in a high up spot for like it to be used really well. But we can see the popularity is not really high. And I think that Gengar, while it is a very popular Pokemon outside of Pokemon Unite, it's not very popularly played because I think it's just way too hard to play. And that's just my opinion on this. Next we have Greedent. So Greedent has a win rate of 51.21% and a popularity of 19%. So Greedent is not super popular, but it has a pretty good win rate. So, you know, people who main Greedents and stuff, they're not struggling with Greedent that much. Greedent is literally such a hassle to deal with, has so much survivability. They put it statistically in B, and yeah, it's just crazy. I remember when Greedent was first released, it was insane, but the nerfs have put it in a more, you know, manageable spot from S tier to B tier. So now we can actually deal with Greedent. But yeah, I still find it really annoying from how much that little squirrel runs around. Next we have Greninja. So Greninja has a 49% win rate with a popularity of 49%, and that places Greninja in B tier as well. I would say Greninja is still in a balance, but even though it's not 50%, it's just a bit under. There's not really too much to say about Greninja. It's a strong Pokemon, even really strong in the right hands. We can say generally that from this pool, Greninja was just like, you know, just lost a tiny bit more than they won, but that's not a bad thing. I would say close to 50%. It's still in a pretty balanced spot. Okay, next we have Lucario. So Lucario has a 49.22% with a popularity of 46.12%, and that places Lucario statistically in B tier as well, which is crazy because Lucario has been in S tier for a very long time. I put Lucario in A tier on my tier list, but from these statistics it seems that Lucario is just, you know, win loss, and I would say that, you know, there is a lot of people who play Lucario. It has a pretty high popularity. It's 46.12%, and in this percentage you have people who are extremely good at Lucario, you have people who just are playing Lucario because it's consistently high in the meta. So it's really weird to put in B. Kind of seems off a little bit, but you know, people still want Lucario to be nerfed and such. I would like to hear your opinion on this. Would you like Lucario to still be nerfed after seeing these percentages? I did verse a Lucario the other day who was using extreme speed and they were ruining my life, but yeah, I don't know. I think to me Lucario is like in A tier, but again, we don't know what these 110k games are. We don't know what movesets these people are using. There's a lot of factors that play into this. Next we have Machamp with a 50.39% win rate and a popularity of 10.47%. So Machamp wins quite a bit, like just it's very balanced, a win spot, but what makes it so cool is that the popularity is 10%, so we're more likely to see Machamp mains using this, which is probably why like a lot of people say, wow, why is Machamp so low? Because every time I go against a Machamp they destroy me. Well, it seems like the people who really know how to play Machamp are the ones playing Machamp in high levels, or at high master, or I don't even know if it's high master, it could be any master rank games, but in master rank games. So really interesting to see. It seems like, you know, compared to Gengar, it's very much less struggling than Gengar is at the moment. So that's cool. Happy for you Machamp players. Please stop punching me. All right. Next we have Mamoswine. Mamoswine, we have a 50.51% win rate and a popularity of 17.51%, and that puts Mamoswine in B tier statistically on this. And yeah, so we can see that Mamoswine, you know, it may be the buffs. The buffs might have been the reason why we see it in a better spot. I don't know what it was before because this is all new, but at the moment it's at a 50% win rate, so it's in a balanced spot. So it's good to see that the buffs Mamoswine seem to be doing pretty well for it. Next we have Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime has a win rate of 51.31% and a popularity of 14.85%. Okay, I have some things to say about Mr. Mime. So we're gonna put that in B because statistically that's in B tier. So Mr. Mime is a Pokemon that completely scares me. Every time I go against a Mr. Mime player, they're so good at it. Every time I see a Mr. Mime player on my team or their team, I'm just like, this player must play Mr. Mime. And it shows here in the popularity. With a low popularity, we are more likely seeing players who main Mr. Mime. So with that, we can see that Mr. Mime players, I would say 51% is pretty high. We can say that they are consistently like winning. They're not struggling as a Mime player to win with this Pokemon. So it's in a pretty good spot. I don't think it needs any changes because I personally don't find it overpowered. I just find that players who use Mr. Mime are really skilled. So that's really cool to see. Next we have Ninetails. So Ninetails has a 49.6% win rate and a popularity of 21.89% or like 22%, and that puts Ninetails in C. So Ninetails is like a CC bot. It's just has so much crowd control. The win rate is pretty decent, almost 50%. It's not too bad. Popularity is not super high but not super low. So I would say it's pretty balanced at the moment. Based on this statistic tier list, it's just underperforming just a little bit. The win rate's not too bad though. Next we have Pikachu. So Pikachu has a win rate of 49% or almost 50%, and popularity is 66%, and that puts Pikachu the first Pokemon to be in the second row, which is A. We can see from this that it has a really high pick rate. Its popularity is 66%, and in this pool players have managed to pretty much almost just balance it out close to 50% here. Pikachu's in a pretty good spot. A lot of players are using it and they're not losing with it consistently, so we can say that Pikachu is pretty good in the meta. Next we have Slowbro. Slowbro has a 49.17% win rate with a popularity of 21.59%, and that puts Slowbro in C tier. So Slowbro win rate is not like, it's not 50%, it's 49%. It's like not the worst win rate in the world. Popularity wise, it is not the highest, so like just a bit of the mains here. Some people who are using Slowbro just below average, even with its buffs. I did play Slowbro quite a lot. The buffs don't seem to be crazy for it, but yeah, I would like to see Slowbro high in the meta statistically. Really interesting to look at. Snorlax is in C tier with a win rate of 48.34% and a popularity of 33.93%. So out of the defenders, I would say that Snorlax has like the highest. I think the highest for defender. Yeah, Snorlax has the highest pick rate as a defender. The win rate though is a lot lower. To me, I think that's because Snorlax, you know, as defender, as supporters, it's harder to carry with them unless your outs are good. So we see Snorlax just underperforming a little bit as well, which is really interesting since Snorlax is really put high tiers, but like, you know, maybe in 5-man. So maybe Snorlax is more of a 5-man Pokemon, and again, I don't know what these games consist of, but it's really interesting to see that defenders wise Snorlax is not doing as well as a lot of people thought. Sylveon. So Sylveon has a win rate of 50.15% and a popularity of 33%, which puts it in A tier. So Sylveon's not overpowered or anything, but it's doing pretty well. Like popularity wise, it's not picked as often as maybe some other attackers, but we can see that the win rate, they are consistently winning more than they are with like maybe Cinderace or Greninja. So that might be because Sylveon, to me, I main Sylveon as an attacker. Sylveon is my favorite attacker. Maybe Cinderace a little bit now though, because I've been loving Blaze Kick. But Sylveon is just like really easy to use. I feel like it's a lot safer to use as well with its mobility, like when you pick up the mystical fire move, or Hyper Voice just has really good secure. So we can see that Sylveon has a pretty decent win rate. 50% is really good, and the popularity is not super high, but players who are playing this Pokemon are winning consistently with Sylveon. Next we have Talonflame. Talonflame is placed in A tier with a win rate of 49.9% and a popularity of 69.37%. So this is pretty much 50%. It's an A tier. It has a high popularity pick rate, and you can see that in this popularity being so high, players are consistently like either like, you know, it's 50-50, winning, losing, etc. But a 50% win rate with a high popularity pick rate is really good. Puts it in A tier. So we can see that Talonflame is just being pretty consistent. Next we have Tsareena. So Tsareena has a win rate of 52.5% and a popularity of 93.7%, putting it in S tier. So Tsareena is someone everyone gets for free. We see it quite a lot in our ranked games. The win rate is really good, which puts it in S tier. 52% with a popularity of 93%. It shows that even players who don't even play Tsareena that much, it shows the mains, it shows like just a huge pool of players playing Tsareena and are winning consistently with Tsareena, making it S tier, which means that Tsareena is just a good Pokemon to use at the moment in the current meta. Next we have Venusaur. So Venusaur has a 49.47% win rate with a popularity of 61.85%. Again, high win rate, highish win rate, almost 50%. High popularity, which means players are consistently doing like well with Venusaur as well. So Venusaur in A tier, good win rate, high popularity. players are doing consistently well with it as well. Next we have Wigglytuff. So Wigglytuff is a 51% win rate with a popularity of 46.95%, which puts in A tier as well. We can see it has a really high popularity pick for the supporters. I think it's the highest for supporters, but the win rate is pretty high at 51%. So Wigglytuff players are winning consistently more than they are losing with this pick here. Really good to see. I love Wigglytuff. And the last one we have is Zeraora. So Zeraora is in B tier with a 49% win rate and a popularity of 54%. So Zeraora is a Pokemon that a lot of people got for free when they first started and stuff. Like it was like part of a promo, I think. I'm not too sure. Popularity, it's really high. The win rate is still like under 50%. So players are still just in this like pool are just losing with it and they are winning, which places it in B tier because there are a lot of players picking it, but it's not been like consistently average. Does that make sense? But yeah, 49% with Zeraora. I think that really concludes our tier list. Well, their tier list, not my tier list. This is not my tier list. This is a tier list based on statistics. So we can see here that from 110,000 master games, I would like to say that we don't know what movesets are being used here. There's a lot of information that we don't have about these games, but we do have the statistics of these Pokemon from these games, so this is what we get. The tier list, I will have to say, I kind of agree with it actually. It actually really portrays, it's a lot different from some tier lists, sure. The S tier, I actually got all the S tier Pokemon right except for Cinderace. I thought after the buffs it would be like more S tier, but Cinderace is in B tier. From the statistics tier list, we can see the best all-rounders are Tsareena and Dragonite. The best supporter is Eldegoss. The best attackers are Pikachu, Sylveon, and Venusaur. The best speedster is Talonflame, and the best defenders are Blastoise, Greedent, and Mamoswine. Obviously, these could be like better than the other, maybe depending on the situation. I can't have like high, low, high B. I'm not gonna go super into it. I'm losing my voice. I've been talking for so long. No idea how long this video is, but yeah, this is really interesting. So statistics are really cool. I've never really looked at things like this before, like I said. I'm sorry if like, you know, for those who actually look into things like this, maybe you know way more than I do. But this is what I've gathered, and from the research, I just basically learned how to like understand win rates and stuff properly today, but I'm still learning. I would like to say the meta can shift quite dramatically. It can shift a little bit, it can shift a lot just by changing one Pokemon. So, you know, sometimes Ninetails, who before the buff didn't receive many changes or changes at all, I'm pretty sure. And we see that when other Pokemon got buffed, Ninetails got pushed down pretty hard. And that's a little stuff here. Alright, I'm going to go and drink a lot of water. Thank you so much for watching, trainers. Really cool information. I'm going to write a pinned comment as well just to clarify some context when you watch this, because I think some people will skip the intro and I think it's really important to know some context. Alright, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, traders. Like the video if you thought this was pretty interesting or helpful. I'll catch you for the next one. Bye!